So the best MVPs do what they love, and we can tell because we see it out there in the community. We see people's reactions. We hear the enthusiasm that's going on out there. Social media superstar definitely helps, because if you're not, you can be writing the greatest content in the world, but if nobody's reading it, then you're not really having an impact in the community. So to become an MVP, as I'll walk you through, there is a whole kind of nomination process. Yeah, I'll go into more detail about that in a minute. But let's actually go into the award technology structure. And so this is something that has changed over the years now. We've kind of gone back and forth, but at the moment, there's no such thing as a Mem MVP. As somebody who is specifically awarded for Microsoft Endpoint Manager, Mem falls under the award category of enterprise mobility. But also in enterprise mobility, we have identity, information protection, remote desktop. And so that person would be considered an enterprise mobility MVP. Then we have Windows and devices for IT MVPs, and that has just a couple contribution areas under it. But each of these areas can be run very differently. So as you can see, Azure is huge because Azure is huge. Windows development, so things like mixed reality and Internet of Things fall under Windows development, even though things like Internet of Things, there is some management of Internet of Things, and so that could still fall under Mem. But we assume that these are the people who are more creating the solutions rather than the people who are doing the technical implementation of the solutions. And then same thing in terms of Office. So we have Office development, diving into graph, even though, there's graph in Mem, and we have a lot of people who write about graph content, really just like the all-up graph piece would be here under Office development, whereas under Office and Apps and Services, that's where you're going to get all of the SharePoint and the Teams and the Word and the Excel pieces of it. Data platform, so, all things, SQL, all the Azure SQL, and then AI, definitely an up-and-coming kind of an area over here. This again would gear a little bit more towards some of the dev pieces. And then this is really where I consider a bit more of the IT pro, as they've kind of broken out. Now, obviously, there's a lot of IT pro kind of mixed into the Azure space. It really spans a lot. So cloud and data center management is really the server side pieces of things. So networking, redundant, high availability. Group policy is an interesting one because they actually do list this under cloud and data center management, although I really consider it endpoint management. I don't own this structure. I just, get to work within what they've got there. But if you were doing a lot of things about Windows Server operating system, it's going to fall under cloud and data center management. If you're doing a lot of things about Windows for IT as an endpoint, then that would fall under the Windows and devices for IT. So that's definitely something that I look at, the types of content coming out there. And then if you're doing things for Windows consumer, that actually doesn't really fall into this, because you notice it's Windows and devices for IT. Windows consumer content would really fall under, there is a separate Windows Insider MVP program. And some of our MVPs are both in the main MVP program and in the Windows Insider MVP program, but they kind of went off and formed their own thing. They have their own nomination process. They have their own review process annually run by a completely different group. But because of, some of the crossover, we do tend to bring the Insider MVPs in for things like the MVP Global Summit. But they run a separate track. We may come together on some. This last year, we co-offered some sessions between the Insider MVPs and my Windows for IT MVPs. It just kind of, depends. But the way I look at it with the difference there is, if it's a consumer MVP, they can be talking about, here's how you change the wallpaper. But if it's Windows for IT MVP, I want them talking about, here is how you change the wallpaper for 5,000 computers. Or here's how you have different wallpaper for the HR group and the engineering group and the finance group. So, I really want people to be thinking scale and large scale, operations, manageability, implementation in the for IT piece. Answers.microsoft.com tends to have a bit more of consumer kind of questions. I'm having trouble looking at my printer, whereas either the docs.microsoft.com site has the Q&A. That is where I would expect more of the Windows for IT pieces to be discussed, or also on our tech community forums. We're probably looking more at the IT content there. Then, as I mentioned, we're under enterprise mobility. This was a topic that, or a grouping that we were just kind of handed, but it doesn't necessarily make sense for how our product teams operate. So we actually work enterprise mobility like it's 4 separate award categories, even though it isn't. So when I get people coming through the nomination pipeline, I'm really just looking at, are they good for Mem? Are they out there, writing the articles about Endpoint Manager and writing about our cool new stuff over there? If all they have is information protection, or all they have is identity, AAD, I'm just not going to vote on them. I'm not going to vote them down, but I'm going to say, yeah, they don't have anything in Mem. If they have, like 1 or 2 articles over there, it's like, well, that's nice. But what I'm really looking for is people who have the same level of Mem experience as the rest of my MVPs who are currently in our Mem category. If they're up there, reaching those same kind of levels, then I'll say, great, I'm going to approve them over here for enterprise mobility. Now, at the same time, they may also have a lot of great information protection or identity or RDS. And so the people who run those different categories may also decide, hey, I'm going to invite them over here into my stuff. And of course, once you're an MVP, there's also a lot of stuff that we offer that is open to every MVP, not just specific award categories. So, it just kind of, depends. And even within the programs, I tend to run Mem as a very separate category and do a lot of things that are open only to the Mem MVPs that I have identified and said, yeah, these are part of my people. Whereas the Windows stuff, I tend to run more open because, it just reaches across, a broader spectrum of these people. There may be a lot of CDM or Office apps and service people who are also interested in that, and I'll go ahead and let them in there. So Office apps and services, is another really interesting one to run here because it's such a large area. So Allie, the woman who runs this, she is not deep in each of these technical areas, but there are people like Lori Popmeyer who run the Teams MVPs. And so, of course, she's the one who is all about the Teams piece. I'm getting a bit of echo here. I don't know if someone's muted who might be able to unmute. And then biz apps, just a few award categories, but huge space out there with a lot of MVPs who are very active. Of course, Dynamics 365 is huge. Power Apps is huge. Big active community space. So any questions about any of this piece? Yeah, I'm actually just going to exit that. That might give me back my, gosh, no, it's just not letting me view my teams at all, and I don't know why. So any questions, anything in the chat window anybody wants to bring up? No? Okay. So the next thing, MVP code of conduct. So we actually do have a very specific code of conduct here. And, Microsoft's mission, we want to empower every person on the planet to achieve more. And to do that, we feel like we really need to have a functioning, inclusive, and as diverse as possible community. And, diverse in a lot of ways, so country is part of it. Race and ethnicity is a part of it. Gender is a part of it. Experiences are a part of it. Age is a part of it. A lot of MVPs have been around for a very long time, which we love, but, we also want to be bringing new blood into the program here. So, diversity is definitely something that we care about a lot. And things that the MVP program itself is really working to promote in various ways. And, as I'll show you here, we have some blogs and, we do some things like we call it an inclusivity bee, where we talk about, how, accessibility is another thing. We have MVPs of very different abilities in the program, and we have some who specifically focus on accessibility within products, whether or not they need those accessibility features, because we want, as a company, Microsoft really feels it's important to be accessible. So as I mentioned, I want people to be respectful and professional in all of the public discourse up there. Differences of opinion, even if they don't necessarily agree with, with what we're doing with the product. Uh, and debate things from that professional and respectful place. Leading with empathy is another value here, and it's something that we've talked a lot about at Microsoft, even internally. Is sometimes we have regrettable conversations. Somebody may say something. I know I have said some things, and later really regretted. Wait, I don't think I showed up as my best self in that one. And being able to just have the conversation about, well, why did I say that? Or somebody say, well, why would you say that? Why might you think that? And really dig into some of the ideas, and maybe be able to examine that. Hey, maybe some of those ideas don't fit as well anymore, or aren't as constructive anymore within the community. Because we really want to bring people in, and we want to assume good intention, we want to assume good faith in all of this. And so having those discussions about why might you think that, being curious is really important. And another thing that's really important for MVPs to realize, once you take on that stamp of MVP, it really does carry more weight out there. I was very active in the Microsoft trainer community before I came into Microsoft, and I was very active in our old NNTP news groups, which dates me. And then, like as soon as I got the Microsoft after my name, I realized that everything I said carries more weight. Me speaking here today carries more weight. So there are things that I would say very differently if I no longer worked for Microsoft. So MVPs also have to really, think about how they are showing up on that kind of public platform here. So, we have some very specific things here about, no disrespectful behavior, making it clear that MVPs do not work for Microsoft. Some people may be under, mistaken impression about that one, but, that they are independent entities. And then, of course, things like illegal or offensive activities, libel, slander, plagiarism, discrimination, or harassment of any kind. We have no, no tolerance for that one. So, we have removed people, unfortunately, for some of these violations, including non-disclosure agreements. So confidentiality violations here, even a hint, gosh, for one of my poor people, we were having the MVP summit, and David James told them that they could tweet this, and he took a picture of the slide, but the slide had like all of the MVP summit NDA stuff on it, and so people freaked out about it. It's like no, D James said he could tweet it. So I try to tell my my presenters now within the product team, if you're going to say something that is not NDA, please say it on the slide. So if people take a picture of it, it's really clear it is not NDA stuff. Because we can't take that seriously enough. We want to be able to share things with MVPs. Okay, so what it takes to be an MVP, here's some different kinds of examples, but this really isn't an exhaustive list, and it's not a checklist. It's not like I expect everybody to be doing all of these things. And there are a lot of things that they aren't listing here that, I think about. So what I tend to think about specifically when I'm reviewing for my categories, and I think other MVP leads feel the same way, but I cannot speak for anything except the programs that I own. So what I'm looking for is people doing what I have to look at it and go, wow, they are doing a lot. They are having a lot of impact. They are spending a lot of time. They are putting a lot of intellectual capacity into this entire process. And I can't tell you what a lot looks like. And I also find that there's some regional variability. So, when I'm kind of baselining this, a lot from this region may not necessarily be a lot in this other region. For example, in Africa, I don't have anybody, I don't have any real baseline about what's happening in Africa. So I would love to know more about, how many Mem admins are there out there? How many Windows and devices, Windows IT Pro admins are there? And how are you coming together? And, what kind of, what is your business climate like? How can we best support the groups and the community and the business in that region there? And so the opportunities may be different. And so that may also impact what a lot looks like in a particular region. I look at, the effort involved in something. So a tweet, probably takes you, like maybe 2 minutes to write at most, which is cool. Um, Usually a tweet is going to be more of, you may be announcing something else technical that you did. So you go and you make a great YouTube video and then you go tweet it. Great. You may be weighing in. We have a lot of really interesting communication or interesting conversations happening on Twitter. So if you aren't on Twitter, I really encourage you to be on Twitter. And one of the things that you can do on Twitter out there is I keep lists. One of the ways that you can tell if someone is a quote Mem MVP or not is by looking at the list that I keep publicly. And by the way, if you have a handle, I can add you to my Mem MVP user groups, the Ghana user groups. So here's my Mem MVP list. And so when I bring somebody new into the program, part of what I do is I go and I welcome them on Twitter and I add them to this list. So you can actually subscribe to this list here. You can follow this list, and then you'll be able to see who everybody is and what they're up to. So tweets don't take a lot of effort. Then there are blogs. Now, blogs can be all over the place. I've seen blogs that are really just glorified tweets. Just longer information. Okay, that's great. And so I don't mind seeing a couple of those if I'm going out and looking, for someone who is, where blogging is their main thing. But that doesn't take a lot of effort, a lot of technical depth to write, hey, Microsoft just came out with this release. Here are the 5 things that are in that release. Well, yeah, because we've probably already put something out that says, hey, here's our release and here are the 5 things in the release. So amplifying that is great. We love to see that. But what I'm really looking for in MVPs are the people who are going in there and really tearing the technology apart. Now, sometimes I'll see blogs that are screenshot, 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 screenshot. And, maybe a little intro, maybe a little, and that's it. But even that, that's it. Okay, so that took a little more time to kind of pull the screenshots together. What I'm really looking for is you to take the time to rip that screenshot apart and say, hey, when you get to this step, these are the 2 really important things that you need to think about. And if you make this decision here, it's going to impact what happens later on. Or if you make this, you can't change it later on. Or, when we were doing this, we started with this way, but then later on we went back and we reconsidered and we made this decision. I want to hear your context. I want to hear why this screenshot matters. And that's the kind of depth that I'm looking for. And sometimes you can be delivering a lot of depth in a shorter article, and then sometimes people have very long articles. Sometimes people have series of articles. Oh, I love the series. Take people through a journey as you're learning it. And even if you're starting pretty new in Mem, I still find tremendous value. We had someone who was doing a ton of Configuration Manager, really didn't know much about Intune. But then, they went ahead and they started this Intune training session. He started with another MVP and really brought people along as he was learning Intune and, had this experienced presence of learning Intune. It was brilliant. It's very, very highly followed. And it's great content for people to be able to say, gosh, I don't know where to start. Because, sometimes, the MVPs, they know it so well, it's hard for them to remember what it's like to begin again. So even sharing your journey as somebody new to that technology can be really valuable in that space. And you can provide, like the technical depth can be there, but it can be from your specific angle of, okay, I had to tear this apart and learn all of this. Speaking is, of course, another thing that is really major out there. We have events like this. You saw several MVPs in the lineup here. So all of them better go and log this in their, they have a tool that they can go in and they log all of their contributions. And that's the stuff I want to see. And, maybe this is something that Donna has delivered 5 times. That's great. I want to see Donna logging every time she has delivered this. So as you're thinking about saying, yeah, I want to be an MVP, start writing down everything that you are doing in the community. Keep a spreadsheet and keep track of, and I actually don't know exactly what's in there, but you can talk to some of the other MVPs who have, gone through the process, and they can tell you more about, what they've, how they had to fill out the form. I've never actually seen what the form looks like, but where you did it, what was the date, who did you talk to, how many people were there, what kind of things did you cover, so that if at some point you are nominated, you're going to have all of this information to be able to go back and plug into the system there. So give the same talk 5 times. That's great. List every time that you delivered that, and I'm going to look at that and go, that's great, because I know every time you do that, if you've delivered it 5 times, each time you're probably changing it just a little bit. And so I know that there's effort that goes into that. And I know that the initial effort to create a talk is huge. I usually figure, at least, 3 or 4, 5 hours for every hour that you're going to be up there talking. If you're going to give different talks, then I know each one of those has, 3, 5, 8 hours, whatever, of effort that you're putting in to make that a really good presentation. I know video is a huge amount of work, because not only are you doing the content, you probably have a lot of prep that you have to do, and then there's the editing afterwards, and then for all of this, there really needs to be the promotion time that you're putting in. So if all I see is somebody tweeting, like, well, okay, but where's the technical depth in the tweets? And some people are doing kind of technical series in the tweets. So as you're logging that, as you're writing down, okay, I'm doing this tweet, give me some context about what are these tweets, and how am I trying to really give some deep technical information within these tweets. It doesn't mention forums on here, but we have our tech community forums, we have the docs.microsoft.com, and we have third-party forums. Now, some of the things like tech community, once somebody is an MVP, we can actually see automated information. We identify them in the system as MVPs, and I can tell how busy they are on tech community. But if you're out there on Reddit, I have no idea. There's no automated way. So you have to provide that context. You have to say, yeah, I'm out on the Intune subreddit, and I am really busy. On average, every month I answer 500 questions a month, or 250 questions, whatever it is. And maybe that's the main thing you do. If that's that's your main gig, I want to see a lot of it. But maybe you're doing some blogs and some speaking and some Reddit. That's fine too. I don't really care about the specific thing. I just want to see that you're doing a lot and it's making an impact overall. And gosh, I really wish I could see the chat window. Anything in the chat? Any questions?
Yeah, I think basically, everybody is enjoying the section. We are all very much enjoying the section. So, yes.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Okay, just want to make sure that there are questions there.
And I was asking that why do MVPs get their status stripped off when they join Microsoft?
Great question. Okay, so MVPs are an independent entity. So MVPs cannot work for Microsoft currently. So many of you know Harjeet has been one of our fantastic Windows MVPs, and he just got a job at Microsoft. So yes, he does have to lose his status because now he speaks as Microsoft. We don't want any confusion about when someone is speaking as Microsoft or as an MVP. And make it clear that MVPs are not Microsoft employees. Now, also, if somebody works for Microsoft and then leaves Microsoft, there is a 1-year period where they cannot be an MVP because part of it is we want them to go out there and create the community content. They can't really have like their MVP or anything they created as a Microsoft employee counted towards their MVP nomination content.
Wow.
So for example, Ed Baker is one of my MVPs right now in Mem, and he worked for Microsoft as an evangelist. He had his 1-year waiting period, and then we were able to approve him.
Okay. Cool.
Great question. Other questions?
I think apart from that, someone was saying, I think Robert, there was a time where CCM on-prem, people thought they were dinosaurs. it was just with the CSS Intune team. Where do you see this going? Also with GDPR and virtual KB going away, it seems like a step back with the sharing of knowledge. I don't know this target to you. or to any of the speakers. But I'm sure it's
I'm
SCCM.
going to see if I can stop. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe. Here we go. Okay, for some reason it was doing something funky. So now I can see the comments here. Okay, so let me just roll back and make sure I've got that. Okay. Okay, so Santosh, I'm going to walk you through the, kind of the nomination process and all of that. Okay. So MVPs need to be leaders of the community. And so my really strongly held belief is that part of being a leader is that you need to be looking at the new stuff that we're doing, not just rehashing everything that we've already done. Like inventory is something that we have not changed in, gosh, I mean, it really almost hasn't changed since the SMS 2.0 days, right? So I don't mind, if you're going to do an occasional article on inventory, okay, that's cool. But we aren't investing in that. There's not much new to say about that. So there's just not as much mileage out there. But talking about, whatever it is that's new, go look at the technical previews, what's coming out in there, both for Intune and Configuration Manager. Now, our strategy at Microsoft, when I took over the MVP program, Satya had just taken over, and he made the statement really clear. He said, cloud first, mobile first. Doesn't mean cloud only, doesn't mean mobile only, but that was really, as a company, where we needed to focus. And so it's like, great, I know my marching orders. What are we doing for cloud within this space? What are we doing for mobile within this space? So Configuration Manager is not going away. It is not dead. As Donna Ryan has so beautifully created in Needlepoint, rumors of Configuration Manager's death are greatly exaggerated. I guess we need to do the Mem, and it's not dead. It is just part of Microsoft Endpoint Manager. I was so happy when we brought those, those two products in there. So, because we'd always really managed them as one space. And every time I started to look at, gosh, should we have like separate contribution areas just for Configuration Manager and just for Intune before we became Mem? I thought, no, because, they're really so intertwined, but I really need people to be looking at both of them. That doesn't mean that you have to be an expert in every area across everything, but I need to see that you're really embracing this idea of, hey, we have all of this new stuff that we're continually moving forward in the space there. So it's not that the product is a dinosaur. It's just, the product is evolving, and we want MVPs to evolve along with it. I don't know if that makes sense. So Robert, I'm not sure what you mean about GDPR and Visual KB going away. I don't really understand that. Do you want to? Yeah, I don't know if you want to come off mute or if you want to add something in the chat window about that. Okay, anything else? Visual KB was killed. So the internal tool, that was never a public tool, right? Yeah, I actually don't know.
Sure,
Visual
sure.
KB is not a tool that I've used very much, so I don't know.
Well, when it comes to support, is very much used and had a lot of knowledge, and it was killed because of GDPR, because of the EU, and obviously Microsoft is international. It was killed, and so it was just deleted. Period.
Okay.
And so then another tool came in called Brave for support. It's terrible, and so like I just thought it was awkward that you would take like years of support and knowledge and just get rid of it all of a sudden because of GDPR. And so like I'm curious like what you think about what the feature is as far as support is, because it's like a lot of people depend on feature or even I would say past knowledge on like premier support clients that so people that have seen some issues before, like, and they're able to solve it, and so there's like this huge knowledge base, and it just seemed like I was just curious about like what you think is going to be like going forward to solve these premier support cases when you cannot reference like previous support people able to document, because documentation is extremely important.
Well, it is, but what you're asking about, I mean, for one thing, it's nothing to do with the MVP program. So, I have no expertise on there. I do know that, yeah, we did have to be really careful about how we keep the support information, because when we say Microsoft runs on trust, oh man, we run on trust. Privacy is huge for us. We take GDPR very, 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 very seriously. So, if they were saying that, hey, there's a problem with Visual KB and their GDPR implications, I trust the people whose job that is. That's not my job. And I don't work with CSS, so I don't know about that. But I want to keep it kind of towards the MVP discussion, since that's kind of a separate thing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the nomination process. Actually, no, before I do that, I'm going to say meet the MVP award team, and then we'll go into the nomination process. So the people that you see here are what are called community program managers, or CPMs, and then also some people down here, business group leads, BG leads. So we really have 3 different groups that are evaluating MVPs. We have all of these lovely regional people here. And so when the nominations come in, if somebody is in, this region here, Betsy is going to be the one who is going to first look at their information and be able to evaluate that nomination in the context of the region where that candidate is. So actually I have no idea. I probably should have looked at this earlier. Southern share of India, China, Brazil, France, Eastern Europe, Japan. I actually don't know who the person is who would have Africa. So I really should have checked that. I just thought about that now. There will be somebody. It's probably possibly. So we tend to look at people from, we call it EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa, as one region. So it's probably someone around in this area. But it's definitely something where we need to be thinking more and more inclusively if we don't really have someone looking in that area here. So these are the people who would be initially evaluating that person. And then every month, about the 15th of the month, I have a little reminder on my calendar. I go out and I check something called the candidate review tool, and I see who has been advanced to actually having been nominated. And at a certain point, the regional people, the CPMs, have to put their statement in about why they do or do not think this person would be a good candidate. And then I also look at it. And then, and so I'm looking at it just for Mem and for Windows and Devices for IT, although I do see everybody in enterprise mobility. I'm only going to comment on a candidate if they have any Mem. And I may say they don't have enough Mem to be in my group, but I don't care if, somebody else wants them for identity or whatever. And then there's also the business group leads. So like Fernanda is one of the business group leads, and she is in charge of all of the, well, going back to the award category list, she has certain award categories that she manages. My person, Sarah, who I've worked with for, all the time I've been working with MVPs, she just recently left Microsoft because she needed to spend some more time with her family. And so right now I'm working with Christian. So if I have questions about candidates or programs or everything, I'm going to go to Christian, and we're going to work through it. So he's representing the entire business group, in addition to being a community program manager for the Western part of North America. So the reason why I mention those people is it's really important in the whole nomination process. So there is a site up here, and you have to be, like, I'm not currently showing sign in, so only Microsoft full-time employees or MVPs can nominate other MVPs. We used to have it open where you could nominate yourself or anybody could nominate anybody, and the nominations that we had were just like not always great quality, and it took way too long for us to go through and evaluate them because there were so many that just weren't very good. So they've tightened that up now for a couple of years here. So if you are able to, if you are an MVP or a full-time employee, this is what it looks like. You know, I can show you a couple of things in here that aren't, you know, big deal. But I wanted to bring this up because, okay, there are a couple of conditions here. So you have to be an adult. So in the US, we consider 18 to be legal adult age. You cannot be a government employee. Why? Because Microsoft has very strict anti-corruption policies. And the anti-corruption policies vary greatly from country to country, but literally, I'm not exaggerating, in the United States, I cannot give a stick of chewing gum to a government employee without logging it. We have a whole tool. I have to go in there and have to show that I am not trying to influence that government official by giving them a stick of juicy fruit gum. And that's not just, you know, like a senator or, you know, a mayor of a city. That includes anybody who could be considered a government employee. It includes public school teachers or school administrators, not private, but public. People who work for utilities, you know, like a power company. If the power company is private, that's okay. But if it is considered a government utility, municipal utility, they're a government employee. You know, agencies like the National Park Association, all of those things are government employees. And because the MVP program is providing things with monetary value to the MVPs, like MSDN subscriptions, there would be so much paperwork that we would have to do to make that okay, that we just don't do it. So if you could be considered a government employee in any way, we just have to exclude you from the program, regretfully. Yeah, no government employees whatsoever. And as we mentioned, no Microsoft employees, because we want that strict distinction here. The nominee has demonstrated impact and influence in the past 12 months. So I'm not just looking for someone who's had 3 months of great blog posts. I want to see that you can sustain that over the long haul. Because once you get to be an MVP, you have to continue to sustain that every year or you don't get renewed. So, you know, really, you know, 9 months is maybe about the minimum that I might be looking for. You know, generally, I'm not going to, if someone only has about 6 months, then I may get into, okay, is this candidate, you know, realistically, if someone in Africa had 6 months of great contributions, I might be more willing to say, you know, let's give some encouragement. Let's bring that person in, because, you know, I want to look at the diversity of my group, and, you know, maybe having more MVPs in Ghana is going to really help that region, both in the community and in the business. But really, like 9 to 12 months is that sweet spot there. So demonstrating technical expertise and, you know, contributes and is viewed by a positive way in the community. And those are really, you know, the two things. So like when someone's going to go fill out the form to nominate, you know, an existing MVP that's going to nominate a new MVP has to actually make a statement about how that MVP has demonstrated the expertise and how they are contributing to the community. So, you know, there are a lot of people who are doing, you know, great organizing. That's great. You know, I want to see things like user groups and putting that together. That's valuable. But I also still need to see the technical. You know, in my role right now, I have been very deeply technical in this stuff. Lately, I'm doing just more of the organizing, and, you know, because that's where I'm getting reviewed and what my job is. But, you know, in the community, I need to see both the technical and the community organizing together there. And, you know, just in the community, in a proportion that makes sense for that community. And then, as I mentioned, you know, what we're looking for are pro bono contributions, that, you know, that what is being considered is not, you know, for pay. Now, I know sometimes people get a really great reputation because they're writing a book, and we don't necessarily expect you to go write a book for free, but, you know, some MVPs do. Dave and Crystal, one of my favorite MVP power couples, you know, husband and wife who are MVPs, when they write books, they donate all the money to a charity, and they've been able to give a lot of scholarships. I think they form their own charity, and they you know, donate that money somewhere. You know, if somebody says that they are mentoring and they are mentoring somebody in their own company, that doesn't count really as a community contribution, because you're getting paid to work for your company and to support your coworkers. But if you turn around and you're mentoring somebody else to be an MVP, or, you know, some school kids who want to learn about technology, that counts as a community contribution. Now, that's not to say that you can't have, you know, some stipend, you know, to pay your expenses to get to a conference or something like that one. But we're really just, you know, we're not looking for people who are doing this as a full-time job. They're doing it because they love the community. So, you know, the MVP or the FTE goes in, fills out this form, and then, you know, they want to know, you know, like, okay, you know, what have you done? And oh, you do have to have a Microsoft account, an MSA account, you know, Hotmail account, because that's how we, you know, we validate within the tool here. And you notice that, you know, saying, yeah, you got lessons. So we want people who know, you know, in the community for a while, and that they've demonstrated the impact and the influence and the technical expertise. So someone's going to fill that out. It's going to go back to those, you know, those regional people here on that award team. I'm going to look at it, and then there have to be the 3 votes. So the regional person has to vote. So, and I don't exactly know, you know, how a lot of the nomination process really is handled by the regional people, and I have to kind of step back and let the regional people do their thing and work with the candidates. And, you know, if you're nominated but not brought on, then generally the regional people will turn around and they'll give you some feedback about, you know, this is what we were looking for, or you know, or not looking for. And so they kind of really own that primary relationship with candidates. And then, you know, the business group also has to vote. You know, like I said, Fernanda is going to vote on anybody in the award categories that she manages. And then there will be somebody from within the product team, and how each product team does that is different. You know, sometimes it's a person from the marketing group. In my case, I'm actually in engineering and considered an engineer. And, you know, so I vote for my particular areas. And let's see, what was I going to say with that one? Something else I was going to say with that, and I forget what it was. Okay, so if we bring somebody in as an MVP, it's not a lifetime appointment. We do expect MVPs to continue that level of achievement. So normally what will happen is every month I will get new MVPs to approve or not approve. So, you know, watch on the first day of the month, and I will tweet out, you know, if we have any new MVPs coming in. And then on July 1st is when we would normally have been working to review. We would have MVPs log all their contributions up until the end of March. We would be reviewing all those contributions, and then on July 1st, we would announce everybody who has been re-awarded as their MVP status. Now this year, because of COVID, we did not require MVPs to be reevaluated to be renewed. We just said, you're in there, everybody's struggling, you know, do the best you can, still log what you can, because it still really helps us to know what people are up to. But we just automatically approved everybody. And so then, you know, assuming that the world returns to normal by next year, we'll be going back, and there may be some MVPs who just aren't able to keep up that level of contribution, and we understand that. It's you know, if you're doing it right, it's the equivalent of having another part-time or full-time job. So, you know, we want to see that level of commitment in there. And jobs change, family situations change, you know, personal motivations change. And we understand that you may not be able to keep that up the whole time. You know, I tell my MVPs, if you're having an issue, let me know. You know, and let your CPM know, really let your CPM know, because, you know, they really own that primary relationship. And, you know, we may be able to say, hey, we you know, we know it was a bad year because of this personal situation, and cut you a little bit more slack in there. But at a certain point, you know, we do have to say goodbye to some of our MVPs. And so what they did a few years ago is they created this MVP Reconnect. Basically, this is, you are no longer an MVP, but we still give you some benefits, you know, within the process there. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Any other questions? Okay, don't see any typing. Let me come back into. So if you want to find me, you know, if you want to talk more, if you think, hey, you know, I think I would be great as an MVP, or you say, hey, I know somebody who would be great as an MVP, you know, get them over to me. You know, follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm doing. If you're interested in being an MVP, is mentorship available? So there are a couple of approaches there. What I am trying to do is, if I know there are people from areas that I consider underrepresented, then I am trying to work with my existing MVPs to provide a mentor, you know, to kind of walk through that. You know, you can ask. I don't necessarily have, you know, unlimited resources. So you know, if you're someone who is, you know, a little bit, you know, more in some of my mainstreams categories there, I would say reach out to the existing MVPs first and say, hey, you know, would you be interested in mentoring me? But you know, if you're having trouble finding that, you know, especially if you're in something that's an underrepresented group geographically, like I would consider Ghana. You know, hey, if any of you want to get mentors out there, yeah, let's work with it. Because I do have some people who have volunteered, and you know, I actually need to go back and you know, reping my current MVP pool to say, hey, you know, who might be willing to help. So a good thing about mentorship is, you know, mentoring counts as community activity. So, you know, if Donna's going to turn around and mentor somebody, she can go and log all that. And I definitely weigh that very highly as I'm looking at renewal applications every year, because I know that, you know, that's part of the village there. So Ernest is asking, can I get the Mem group handle? I'm not sure what you mean. You mean my Twitter list for LinkedIn, or for my list over here, or Maurice? Yes, thank you. There's Maurice. Yeah. Okay, so the Twitter list, and I can put this in the chat window. This is my list of Mem MVPs. And then I have my, where's my Windows and devices for IT. Here is my list of user groups. So if you have a Twitter handle for this, let me know. I would be thrilled. And this is, you know, loosely anything related to Mem. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically a user group, but, you know, thrilled to put you on here so people can find you and surface those. And then the other one that I definitely recommend that you follow is the Microsoft Mem Team. So these are people on the product team or related to our product team. You know, so Danny, you know, Steven out there. And sometimes they're tweeting about work stuff, sometimes they aren't. But if they've identified themselves as working on the product team, then I try to keep everybody on this list so that you can find them easily. Yeah, so Marie says, if you're interested, putting your name forward, reach out to current MVPs in the area. And, you know, in general, that's what I love about our community is we want to help each other. We want to raise everybody up here. So, you know, if you need help, ask for it. If you're struggling with something, you know, ask for help on Twitter, and then turn around and turn that, you know, the help that you were given, go ahead and make some content out of that and share what you learned with someone else. Go ahead and, you know, credit your source. Say, hey, Marie's helped me do this. Let me show you, you know, how I implemented my particular spin on it, because that's really the spirit of being an MVP. Ernest, anything else?
Yeah, I'm very much. I've made my day very fruitful, and I'm sure the attendees have also made their day very, very, very fruitful. In fact, this section is first of, its kind that we are having Mem and AVD, Azure Virtual Desktop, and I'm very thrilled with the excitement that we've had this connection, and now I'm feeling more confident to, dive deep, as you said, play with the technology. So yes, I really need to give a special vote of thanks to all the speakers, from Anoop Nair, who spoke, who had our first session. All the speakers have been very, very much on point and excellent. So next was Kathy. Kathy did the second presentation, and we say, Kathy, thanks much. And my new friend Morris, I was happy. I was happy all the speakers had accepted this invitation to speak, to share their real experience. Morris, thank you very much. And Donna, I just don't know what to say, but I say thumbs up, and I'm very happy. And to the last but not the least, Kathy has been very brilliant. This is my first time hearing much insight about the MVP program. So I'm really, really happy and excited. I know how to move about now. And I believe that the attendees that joined too are very, they are appreciative of what they've heard. So yes, I don't know if any attendee has any question or any feedback, he or she can share it before we round up.
Oh, I remember there was one other thing that I didn't actually show. If you want to see who are current MVPs, we do have the Find an MVP. So like Maurice said, you look for someone in your region. So you can come over here and you can search for your technology. And so this is the list of everybody that we got.
Oh, okay. All right. So any questions to Madam Kathy? Yes, great section indeed. It was really a great section. In fact, all our speakers have made us happy, and we can say, thank you is even an understatement. I really wish I could coin a term for them. It's been very insightful section, right from enrollment, analytics, and then Azure Virtual Desktop, and then the program to crown it all. I'm very much, I appreciate it very much. And I think we'll be doing more of the talks, coming weeks. I'm hoping to have a mentor to take me through MEM as well. So yes, I'll catch you on that. So yes.
Yes.
So if there's no any question, then I would really want to run up. It's been a insightful, event. So thank everybody for joining. We were represented, across the globe. We thank all our attendees for making it. I would want my group leader to add a word if he's there. Abu Konde, are you there? Okay. Abu, can you hear me? Okay, so let me big out the team here in Ghana as well.
Ernest, I can hear you.
Okay, Abu, come on video. Before
I was on mute without knowing that I was on mute.
Okay, so let me shout out to the community here. We had Silva, who was doing the organization at the background. We had Joshua, we had Chesco, Ruth. We also have Jifa. They were all, they are all the group members, responsible for the success. So I want to say at this time that I thank them very well. I will leave it for our group community lead to talk. Abu Konde, take the platform now.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you guys are doing an amazing job there, and the speakers, our great speakers. I'm happy, and I feel like becoming MVP again. I'm already an MVP, but the way she explained to me, I'm so excited, and I want more MVP to join me. And I really enjoyed the session of MVP. And then the speakers, I do more of Azure, but I can see that the virtual desktop and all the technology I've seen today, I've been using them, but I always get excited when I see those technologies. And I'm sure the same thing happened to all of you. And I'm hoping that the NSC, you should make sure you become an MVP in the enterprise mobility area.
Yes, with your guidance and mentors, I think I'm on the right path. So I'll follow suit.
Yeah, and I want to inform everyone that we've been doing this every month. Please join us, and anytime we have a session like this, we want everybody to be part of it. And we'll be communicating all those things. And if you think there's a topic we should cover it in our next session, please let us know. And if you want to speak to any of our events, just let me know. And if you know anyone, you think the person needs to speak to our event, please do. We want everyone to be part of the community and come and speak to the event.
All right. So thank you, and I would again say a special thank you to all our speakers. In fact, Ayuko, big Ayuko, I'm saying it in the Ghanaian way. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate the experience. We really appreciate you sharing your Saturday with us. I mean, from Microsoft User Group Ghana, we say a big thank you. So on that note, I would say have a good weekend, everyone, and then stay blessed and stay safe. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Ernest.
Yes. I really